G'day everyone, welcome. Sunday afternoon. It's the day after our 3-point heartbreaking loss to the Western Bulldogs. I must say it was a great night at the footy. Really good night at the footy. I think if you're a supporter of the two teams or not, you probably would have enjoyed that game. You know, we as supporters, we want the high scoring, we want the fast pace, the quick movement, we want the drama, we want the crowd action, and it had everything. And I had a ball. I had an absolute blast at the footy last night. Been home for 2 games and both of them have been really entertaining. So happy with that. Obviously, very disappointed to get the loss. We fought our way back twice in the game, and in a sense, we were our own worst enemy. There's a few moments where, if we can just get on top of those things moving forward, I think we're going to be a lot better for the run. Ed Curnow in the first quarter doesn't quite get a hand on that ball. Josh Dunkley kicks that incredible goal, juggling it with one hand, getting tackled, throws it on the boot. Cripps, switches play in that second quarter, turns it over directly. They get a goal out of it right away. There were just little moments like that. Daisy gives away that silly 50. Suckling kicks that miraculous goal against the Flow in the third quarter from 53 metres out. Things like that. We've just got to clean up those little moments throughout the game, and we're going to be better for it. I'll just go through the quarter because I just finished watching the game, and I'll just go through the notables. So, first quarter, the Dogs burst out of defensive 50 in that first few minutes, and they run it all the way forward for their shot on goal, and it just looked ominous from there. They won the midfield battle convincingly. They looked like a team who had spent 2 weeks preparing for this game. They knew exactly how they wanted to move the ball against us. They knew exactly where they wanted to go, and they were just quick with their movement. It was as if they had played out this game before it happened, and they knew exactly what was going to happen. So, credit to them. Setterfield kicks it out of Marchbank's hands, and that's when Ed runs onto it and just doesn't get a finger on it. They go to the score review, but we couldn't really get a good angle on it. That's probably just panicking from Setterfield in a sense, and a lack of understanding between him and Marchbank. Tim English, dominant. The midfielders were just clean in the clinches, and he was dominant in that first quarter. He really took it up to Cruiser, and kudos to Tim English because I went into this game thinking there's no way Cruiser gets beaten, and so English was the dominant ruckman, especially in that first quarter. Now, once the Dogs were winning possessions, it just seemed we were unable to stop their quick momentum. They just had that next player in that right position at that right time, ready to go. And I think teams will look at that, when they play Carlton in the future, no doubt, especially when we start, getting a lot more consistent and a lot more harder to play against. Levi Casbolt, I felt like he's a revelation. He can chop out in the ruck. He can play forward. Yes, we don't want him as a forward right now, but he can have minutes in the forward. He can play as a defender. I don't know many more people in the competition that can do all 3 positions. So the versatility that he's been able to display has been, nothing short of, impressive. Josh Dunkley kicks that incredible goal in the first quarter. And, ultimately we wrestled that game back after they started pretty prolifically, the Dogs. We go into the second quarter, and then we notice, Cripps just wasn't able to impose himself. And it's a tough one because on the one hand, you're in the coach's box, you have your strategy for a game. You start off, we're not winning the ball, but you got Paddy Cripps, and you think, okay, how long before I make a move? How long before I make a change? So I know that we talk about should we have put Ed on Bont earlier, but you got to back your boys in. And you give them a quarter, it doesn't work for a quarter, then you make your changes, and we did that. So Ed goes to Bontempelli in that second quarter. Setterfield to Cunningham to Daisy, shot for McGovern, gets us going. It was a really nice passage of play, and it just sort of began from there. And then unfortunately, Cripps has that turnover. He switches it. The switch wasn't on for 1, and for 2, it was just a poor executed kick. So that was that. Murphy has that left foot howler. I'm not sure what he was doing, not sure where he was going, but it was a tough one. He didn't really need to do it. I'm not sure what he was thinking, but he did also kick a really nice goal, which was very important for us. Bontempelli takes a mark, I think 20 metres out, and we fell asleep. He handballs over to Dixon, who runs into an open goal. That's poor. And then we get to half-time. Cripps has had 10 touches, not a lot of impact. We lose the midfield battle. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. A lot of the midfielders were down, But, it just shows we know how much we rely on Cripps. And when he's not up and running, the rest of the midfield engine doesn't quite go as well as it could. So we get to the third quarter. Mark Murphy starts in the middle. First centre bounce. Starts in the middle, plays the entire quarter as a midfielder, right in the thick of it, because he was playing sort of on a half-forward flank and pushing up the ground in the first half. So a little bit of a change I noticed there. He had 10 touches in that third term, was really, really good. I noticed that, there was a clear direction, quicker ball movement, play on, and use the overlap runner. It was maybe the first or second play of the third quarter. Lockie O'Brien gets it from the halfback, kicks it to, I believe it was Murph. Lockie O'Brien runs on, gets a handball, and we're on. And I could notice it straight away. Again, Murph was excellent. We run on adrenaline, much like, sort of reminded me of Collingwood and Richmond in a sense. When they were coming up and their fans were growing and growing, and you look at them now, they ride the Tiger Army and the Magpie Army. They really ride the adrenaline that their fans give them, and we give them an injection. There is no doubt about it. There's a special buzz amongst our supporters, and I'll touch on us later on. I've got a bit of a conversation to have with some people, but yeah, we're a special bunch, and our players feed off it. We had all the momentum. The Doggies, unfortunately, they were able to get a few goals against the flow of play. Suckling kicks that crazy goal. Yes, we would have liked someone to have touched it, but the reality is it was just a really good kick. So we go into the fourth. We get down by 34. Wiedering has a few moments. He has that holding decision in the goal square against Norton. And I know they were holding each other, but, with umpires, because the game's moving so fast, as soon as you see a jersey pulled, it's a pretty easy decision for them. Even though I don't agree with it, I thought it should have been played on. Just poor timing for Wiedering, and considering where we were. Then he has that probably 60 seconds later, he has that moment where he wanted the boundary. He didn't want to take possession. He wanted to get the throw in, and he just didn't disguise it well enough. And unfortunately, he paid the price. Norton didn't kick the goal, but yeah, Bailey Smith goes back, kicks a really nice goal. Then they just sort of get a roll on. Tim English takes a really good mark, goes back, slots it, and then we're down 34. And there's like 6 minutes 50 remaining, and then it just happens. We keep going, and that's the important thing I want us to remember. Let's think about 2 weeks ago, we're playing against Essendon. We come out, it was a disgraceful performance for our football club. The GWS game, weeks before that, North Melbourne, we're coming off a really poor month of football, and I really didn't expect them to put in a fight. I wanted them to, and I said that they needed to find a way to get back in this game, not win the game, but make it a three-goal margin as opposed to 34 or even 40 points plus. And they did that. And then before you know it, we've got 2.5 minutes to go, and it's a 3-point game. And look, things didn't go our way. We ultimately deserved to lose. We paid the price for the mistakes that we made throughout the early parts of the game. And that's where it was. And that's how it is. And, we've got to live with that. There are positives to take out of it for sure. There are definite things that we'll learn from. I mentioned them earlier, those moments that we want to clean up. And yeah, it's just a matter of mindset. How do you find a way to get yourself completely focused from the get-go? Now we go into the bye with some positive momentum, and we come up against Freo away. That's going to be interesting. So yeah, I'm satisfied. It was a good night. Would have loved the win, but some good things. I will touch on our supporters. I think we've got to be better. We talk about our club letting us down. The Essendon game. If you want to talk about hiring Bolton and that whole saga, the club have let us down. But I thought our supporters let us down last night. I want to encourage our supporters to be better. I don't want us to act like what we think about Richmond supporters or Collingwood supporters or whatnot. I just thought some of the the Facebook groups can be a bit toxic after games, particularly when we lose. But just put it into context. People are calling for Will Setterfield to be dropped from the team. He had 24 touches, 75% efficiency. He's coming off a knee reco. He's played 11 games. Dropped. We'll drop him. We'll drop him from the side. I couldn't believe it. He had some moments where it was disappointing. One thing about Will Setterfield is he's a player that when he gets the ball, it's like a basketballer's mentality. I'm not sure if he did play basketball, but he gets it, thinks, and then goes. A little bit like Scott Pendlebury. Now, he hasn't got the polish of Scott Pendlebury, but you can see the makings of what he's trying to do. He wants to think about what he wants to do beforehand. Now, I heard supporters in the crowd last night, kick the fucking thing. No, you don't just kick it forward. That's what Matt Kennedy's doing in the twos, and that's why he can't get a game. He's just bombing it forward. Setterfield's going to come on. He's going to think his way through games. He's got to get some size on his body. He's got to put some meat on. I really enjoyed his game last night. He had some moments which frustrated me. There was that tap on, which he directly turned it over. He had a poor kick. He had the set shot, hit the post. Yeah, I get that, but come on, let's be better. Let's be smarter. Let's improve the way that we support this team. I mean, I've had moments where I've gone at Lockie Plowman this season, and you know what? I don't regret it, but you know I've learned from it. You know, I listened to Sam Doherty only last week talk about how we need the supporters to back us, because when we go, it's going to be worth it. So let's be mindful of how we act. Let's think before we type. You know, let's just try and improve our behaviour. Let's set the standard for the rest of the competition, and let's not fall into this trap of just going nasty. You know, turning on Murphy. He had a poor first half, really good second half. Let's just be supporters of the club. You know, I know that we want to win. I understand that, but I just think there's room for improvement there for all of us. So, just that as a thought. Let's go into some player ratings. So, starting in the back line, Lockie Plowman. I thought he was okay. I didn't notice him, and he's the type of player that I don't need to notice him. He just needs to do his job. You know, the stats aren't going to always, be there in terms of big numbers and whatnot. But I thought he was okay. I mean, we did concede 103 points, so there's something to look at there. But I thought it was just a sort of standard game. I'll give him a 6. Caleb Marchbank, yeah, he probably wasn't as good as what he was last week against the Lions. I thought he was really good. He didn't have any marks from memory. Sorry, no, he had 3. He had 3 marks. Just a little down on what we've come to expect from and what we want from Caleb Marchbank. Obviously playing a role. You got Levi Casbolt in there doing some really good things in defence. So I wonder what that does to affect the performance of the other defenders. So I'll give Caleb Marchbank a 6 as well. Samo, I thought Samo played his way into the game. You know, he had the 18 touches. He didn't have a very good first half. Pretty much all of our midfielders didn't have a good first half. What I liked about what they did with Samo was they put him in the back line across half back. And I really like that moving forward, because I think Cunningham's more of a goal threat than what Samo is. And I know that we've played Cunningham as that half-back flanker, maybe looking ahead to the future. But I think Samo's one that can play in midfield and then float across half-back. So I think Samo made up for his first half. I'll give him a 7. Simo, loved his game. I don't think he was, excellent in terms of the numbers. 22 possession. But no, I thought he was just really good. He threw his body out there a few times, and it was one of those inspirational warrior type performances, just on a lesser scale than what he has done in the past. But yeah, I thought he really had an appetite for it last night. I'm going to give him an 8 for his game. Jacob Wiedering, he was solid. He was solid. He always finds a way to find that happy medium and get to his absolute minimum standard. I thought he, a few moments last night, he gave away that free kick in the goal square, which was questionable, and then he gave away the free kick for the deliberate. So a few moments that he's got to be better at. And so he'll learn from that. I thought he, was okay, but, not great. So I'll give him a 6 for his game. Daisy, in his 250th, I really enjoyed his energy. He's a very, I use the word effervescent character. He's just got a lot of excitement about him. He's an enigma. He can be hard to understand at times. He goes out and he mucks up and he drinks before a game and he lets the team down. Then he comes and plays his heart out last night, and you want to just get around him. And I did get around him. And when he kicked that goal, I mean, I'm sure we all got really excited. And then he hit the post on that next shot. If that had gone through, my goodness, that roof would have been, wide open, because we were blowing up as supporters. It was really good. So Daisy, I thought it was solid, 17 touches. I'm going to give him a 7 for his game. Centre line, you got Will Setterfield. Loved his game, loved his development, he's got good hands in traffic. Just got to work on those skills, those finishing abilities. It's just game knowledge. He's got to get a little bit more confidence in his body. I can tell the game he wants to play, and his body's just not ready to play that game yet. So I liked his game. I'm going to give him an 8. I was satisfied, very satisfied with his development in the last 2 weeks. Paddy Cripps, he was down, and it's an interesting one. We have a go at Will Setterfield, who probably hasn't built up the equity with the Carlton Football Club yet. And Paddy Cripps just had a down game, and it's interesting because when Paddy Cripps has a down game, the conversation goes to, oh gee, he must be bruised and battered, that young fella, that warrior. And yeah, he is, but I don't think Paddy Cripps would allow himself to use that as an excuse. So he was down in the first half, and he's the leader of our midfield, and our midfield as a group were down in the first half, and he responded like a real captain, leader, warrior, champion does. He made himself. That's the thing. You can have a bad game, but it's how you respond and how you find that absolute minimum standard. And I thought he did that very well and tried to carry us over the line. Almost got there, just unfortunately wasn't enough. I'll give Cripper a 7 for his game. Sam Walsh, he had an interesting game, tough one, 22 touches, he had the 5 clangers. Again, and that's the same comparison with Setterfield. Setterfield probably hasn't had as many massive games as what Walsh has, and Walsh has all this excitement about him. Setterfield had 3 clangers, Walsh had 5. I'm not having a crack at Walsh, but let these kids go a little bit, let them develop. So, yeah, not Walsh's best game, but again, another one that finds a way to keep involved. He's a runner, he's a gut runner, he's a competitor, and I really, really enjoy him in our team and as a part of our football club. I'll give Sam Walsh, I'll give him a 6 for his game. Half forward line, Michael Gibbons. Don't know what to make of his game. He had 11 touches, didn't hit the scoreboard, obviously. If he's having this type of output and he's playing as a forward, I just don't. He's sort of neither here or there. That's where you start talking about, well, hey, Jack Silvani's just had 11 touches and kicked 3 goals. And that's where you start having that conversation about, is he knocking down the door? So Gibbons, unfortunately, just wasn't able to impact as much. I'll give him a 5 for his game. But by no means am I, crying for his head. But again, we've got some depth now. We've got Jack, who's going to play. He's going to play next game after watching him yesterday. I'll touch on him later. But yeah, so Gibbons is not his best game, but he'll be better. Charlie, the boy, the king, he put a smile on our face. Kicked 7 goals, 1. It's a 10 out of 10 game. It's his career best game. It's a breakout performance. The difference between this one and the one against Richmond, 3 of those Richmond goals round 1 last year were from 50-metre penalties. Not taking anything away from him, but he really earned his goals last night. Some of them were from free kicks, which were there, but once he gets going and he's able to use that athleticism and get his hands out, he's just a handful for defenders. So well done to Charlie. I'll give him a 10. Ed Curnow did a great job. He's a great tagger. Did a great job on Bontempelli. He's a warrior for us. I'm giving him an 8 for his game. I thought he was excellent. Mitch McGovern is struggling. The one thing about him is that he's a dead-eyed dick, and those people are invaluable. You give him set shots and they're going to kick him, and he finds a way to hit the scoreboard, but he's just out of touch, out of timing. His jumps are not there. It's an interesting one, I don't know where to go from here with him. He's a selfless player. And Teague talks a lot about that, how he plays his role for the team. He knows that Charlie's, up and about, so he knows how to lead create space for others. And I don't know if I want him doing that. That's something that Paddy Kerr can do for a fraction of the price. Those are the thoughts I have. So without understanding what's actually going on the inside and what his role is within the 4 walls, I just want more from him because I know how talented he is. So I'll give him a 5 for his game. Harry Mackay, I'll give him a 5 as well. I just think he struggled to get his way into it. We haven't really had that game where the 3 of them, really dominate. Is that going to happen? I don't know. Maybe not this year. Maybe in years to come. It's still a work in progress, the 3 of them. So, yeah, Harry was able to get some marks late in the game, and as we started surging, he found a way to get into it. But, yeah, I'll give him a 5 for his game. Levi Casbolt, he was excellent last night. He's really rejuvenated himself. Spoke to Ave after the game, and Ave reckons that we should give him a contract. I agree. Give him another year. He's showed himself as a defender. He's good to have their depth on the list. A defender that can actually play. He was excellent. I'll have him in my votes today for sure. I'll give Levi a 9 for his game. Matty Cruiser, I thought he competed. Again, he's one that always finds a way to compete. 46 hit-outs. He won the hit-out battle, but I thought Tim English won the war. And just let him off the hook a little bit. Tim English kicks 2 goals, big marks early in the game, one late in the game. So I'll give Cruiser a 7 for his game. Lockie O'Brien, two solid games in a row. 17 touches, and if he's doing that, he's in the side. I've liked his run. I liked his carry. I liked his want to be that overlap runner. I really enjoyed his performance last night. I'm going to give him an 8 for his game, and he's just going to get better and better. It would have been good for him to finish off that shot he had in the fourth quarter on his left. That puts him up to a 9. He has 17 touches and kicks a goal. That's a 9 out of 10 for what we expect and what we can get from Lockie O'Brien. So some things to work with, but it's good because a few weeks ago we're looking at him thinking, fuck, what's going on with Lockie O'Brien? He just looks a shell of himself. So that was good. Zack Fischer, I'm giving Zack Fischer a 6. I thought he only really came into the game in the fourth quarter. I thought he was just sort of wasn't here or there throughout the game. He had the 16 touches. Down by his standards, he's got better standards for himself now. That just goes to show the type of improvement that he's had and the type of player that he's going to be. But yeah, just wasn't able to impact as much as what I would have liked to have seen. Interchange bench, Paddy Dow. Again, moments, guys. Had 9 touches. I think if we're going to drop anyone for Jack, this will be the one. I think Paddy Dow, I think he's had a few weeks with low possession tallies. And he's having his moments. He kicked his goal. But I think, you have Jack performing so strongly in the twos. This is probably the one that you do, like for like, switch for switch. And sort of go from there. So I'll give Paddy, I'll give him a 5 for his game. But again, not knocking him, just development. Part of the development. He's got to go through his tough times. Mark Murphy, really poor by his standards. Poor first half. Kicked the goal, which was good. Had 4 touches at halftime. He ended the game with 21. So that's 17 touches in the second half. Obviously, we want him to come back, fit and firing. But he's had quite a few weeks out, and that was the balance, and that was the risk. Do you bring him straight in or not? I thought he justified his selection. Kicked a goal. 21 touches, set up a lot of our scoring chains in the second half, and he also was put right into the midfield in the second half, right in the thick of it. And I thought he did his job. I'll give him a 7 for his game. Poor first half really hurt him. It really did. Nick Newman, okay, solid, 16 touches, 6 marks. I mean, the stats are there just to give you context, but I didn't feel Nick Newman really dominated the game, and that's okay. But he was just sort of solid without being excellent. So I'll give him a 6 for his game. I thought he and Marchbank and Wiedering all had, pass mark games, okay games without going to that next level, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'll give him a 6. And again, not a bad game, but want a little bit more from him, from an experienced head. David Cunningham, he's an interesting one. So where we talk about Lockie O'Brien or Will Setterfield not taking their chances in front of goal, but getting quite a bit of the ball, Cunningham's kind of the opposite. He gets his 15 touches, not a lot of the ball for a midfielder, but he takes his moments. He kicked 2 goals in that fourth quarter, and that's the beauty of him. He's a goal-kicking midfielder, and I like him forward instead of Samo, personally. So I liked his game. He put himself into a 7 out of 10 category after being just sort of a pass mark, but really good fourth quarter and great roving goal. Had me up and about. If you go on my Instagram, you'll see the celebration. I was red in the face. Just a great night at the footy. Really enjoyed it. I'm excited to be back. Again, let's encourage our supporters to be a little bit better, a little bit more emotionally intelligent. Let's think a little bit before we react, because we don't want to say things that we regret, and we want to be better for it as these boys grow, and they're going to get better. Give them 2-3 years. I know it's a repetitive thing that we've been saying, but we drafted them when they were 18. Now they're 19, 20, 21, 23, 24, 25. I can just see where we're going to be. It's very exciting, and I'm rapt to be here for it. So good to be home. Go the Blue Boys. Enjoy the bye. We'll have a lot of content next week to keep you engaged. And yeah, let me know what you thought about the game in the comments below. Would love to have a chat about it and see what we can learn from it.